Welcome back to our Steven. Does it make me a jerk if I silently judge people for getting so hung up on double texting being a bad thing? And today, from emergency breastfeeding a friend's baby to someone keeping their income completely private from their boyfriend, we get to decide if any of these people are jerks, all starting with a post titled, "Am I the jerk for telling my wife that if I waited for her to make memories with our son, we wouldn't have any?" Original post, August 17th, 2025. Last weekend, I, 39-year-old male, helped my son, 14-year-old male, dye his hair purple. Or my good friend who actually knew what he was doing helped dye my son's hair while I was there for music requests and object fetching. It was such a fun day, and I could tell how happy it made my boy. I didn't tell my wife before we did this, and that was the catalyst to the fight we're currently having. But for me, it's so much more than this one incident. My wife has been hands-off with our child for a while now. His soccer games, little road trips to nearby amusement parks, back-to-school shopping. She's too busy with work, or too tired from work, so I've mostly just stopped having the conversations. Why would I waste my breath to have the same conversations on repeat? The night we dyed his hair, she started crying while we were talking, saying we were making all of these memories without her. I asked her what she expected me to do. If we waited for her to make memories, we would be sitting in a dark room 100% of the time. My son isn't even really comfortable with her anymore. There's no, "I can't take you, go ask your mom." Now it's, "I'm sorry I can't take you, let me see if friend is free that day." My wife isn't speaking to me now, and I'm wondering if I took it too far. I don't know. I was hoping some brutal honesty would change something. I would have loved having more kids, but I guess it's for the best now that she said no. Edit, I'm a stay-at-home dad. The original plan was for me to start working again when our son went to kindergarten, but my wife was gunning for a promotion around that time and asked me to stay out home longer. Once she got the promotion, her hours increased, so that time was extended once again. I am responsible for all the household chores and general homemaking tasks. I cook, clean, do all the yard work, all the grocery shopping, etc. I do enjoy being a stay-at-home dad, but I've been ready and willing to rejoin the workforce for a decade now. At this point, I will be getting a job when my son turns 16 and can get himself to and from school. But my wife still refuses to cut her hours even if I get a job, and gets frustrated every time I bring it up. There is no point in me forcing my son to ride the bus or figure out a ride for himself if my wife still won't make the effort or compromise in order to spend time with him. So that was the end of the original post. All I have to say is, it's unfortunate that it got to this point. I think there just needs to be greater in-depth coming to terms with the circumstances and trying to figure out what are the long-term priorities for both parents in this relationship. I mean, there's no leeway for some time off or something that the mom can take that they can then focus on making memories. I acknowledge working hard is working hard and you're going to put in a lot of hours in some jobs, but if you truly wanted to make memories with your kids, wouldn't you be finding some time somewhere to make that up? In the comments of the post, one commenter wrote, "OP, I'm concerned for you all, especially your marriage. In 4 years or so, you're going to be empty nesters. If you aren't making new memories now, you're definitely not going to be making them after he leaves. This is maybe the most crucial time period for you all. I honestly would recommend therapy as a family and for you individually. If you're basically a single parent now, you're going to be a single person when your kid leaves, unless something changes now." The OP of the post, which was downvoted heavily, replied, "As much as I hate to say it, I'm counting down those 4 years. Not because I want my son out of the house, but because I know hard decisions are on the horizon and I'm not putting him through that right now. I wanted to seek some outside perspectives to make sure I wasn't overreacting. I've had very good friends and my parents telling me that I haven't done anything wrong, but it's also nice to get some unbiased opinions. I'm willing to put in the work if I need to, but if I'm getting nothing back, what's the point?" Another commenter replied to that saying, "Getting nothing back? Interesting. What would you live off of if your wife wasn't working?" The OP responded saying, "What I meant there was, I'm willing to put in the work, me going back to work so she can work less, or other compromises to make our marriage work, and she is not. I'm getting nothing back emotionally that tells me she's invested and is interested in spending time with me or our son. I said in another comment, and I'll say it here again, I love being a stay-at-home father, and I'm grateful I get to do that. I'm more than happy to cook, clean, do the grocery shopping, etc. I also put in work to try and schedule things around when she's working so she can come. She chooses not to. The OP of the post then goes on to post an update on March 12, 2026, nearly 6 months later. Update. Am I the jerk for telling my wife that if I waited for her to make memories with our son, we wouldn't have any? Spending more time on Reddit to keep up with political happenings led to me remembering I made this account a while ago. The divorce should be finalized within the next 2 months. Before filing, I tried to get my soon-to-be ex-wife to attend counseling with me, but she always refused. The only real answer I have in regards to why all this happened was her finally admitting she cared more about her career than being a wife or mother. Our original custody agreement was going to be me with primary custody, and he would stay with her every other weekend. That has since changed. My son made it clear he would want to speak in court about staying with me full time, so she agreed to that without dragging him into speaking to a judge. She can come see him whenever she wants. So far, she's visited once and called him a handful of times. I'm happy to be moving forward for my son's sake. I don't understand my ex at all. I've started going to therapy myself to try and wrap my head around the past few years. Her lack of any sort of motherhood instinct felt like it was bordering on sociopathic. Finally, remember to be kind to stay-at-home parents. I'm not one anymore, but the fact that my last post had to be locked because people were being so ridiculous towards me for that reason alone says a lot. They have the best job in the world, but also a very hard one. Thank you. So that was the final update, and I have to say it was whiplash immediately with the first sentence being, yeah, the divorce should be finalized within the next 2 months. I'm like, what? I guess that's what happens when you jump 6 months into the future, and I'm actually kind of sad to find out that what I was putting out there is kind of in the right direction where if she was so worried about making memories, she would make the time to do so. In the comments of the post, the OP responds to a commenter who shared a positive experience about going back into the work field after being a stay-at-home parent. They respond, "The biggest thing I've noticed since rejoining the workforce is that I'm more confident in myself and my abilities. I certainly loved all the time I got to spend with my son, and I do love keeping up a household, but I'm glad to feel a little more established within the world once again." On who initiated the divorce, the OP wrote, "I initiated it." The other comment got it right. The final straw was her openly saying she shouldn't have been a wife or mother. But after her continually brushing off my request to go to marriage counseling, I was close to filing anyway. One commenter wrote, "OP's not the jerk. I don't have kids because I never want to have to parent a human for the rest of my life. So when I read about people having kids and then not parenting them or loving them right, it makes me so mad. People are not required to marry and have kids if you cannot do it. Glad you're moving on and continuing to be a good father." Another commenter wrote, "It's good that you've made the best decision for your son and yourself to move on. Some people think they should do what society expects of them and become parents regardless of their actual wants. It's obvious being a mom wasn't for her, so there was nothing you could do to save the relationship. And speaking of brushing off requests, if you don't want to brush me off, it would be amazing if you could help support these videos by hitting those like and subscribe buttons down below." Our next story is, am I the jerk for emergency breastfeeding my best friend's baby? Original post, October 21st, 2019. My best friend of 10 years gave birth to her first child about 8 weeks ago. She never wanted kids, and she disconnected from her pregnancy and never really connected to the baby after he was born either. She has really bad postpartum depression, so I've been trying to help. However, I gave birth to my second child about 2 weeks after she had her baby, so I'm needed at home with my family. I could tell she was getting stressed, so I offered to take the baby for a day so she could have downtime. She brought him over and we put the babies together. Her son has a really bad digestion problem, so he can't ingest regular formula, only breast milk or special formula. She doesn't breastfeed, so he takes the special formula. I asked her if she had packed diapers, wipes, a change of clothes, and bottles in his diaper bag, and she said yes. Then she left. For the first 3 hours, everything was fine. The babies chilled out together, we all played, I put on some music and danced around for them. My baby needed a feed, so I fed her, and then about 30 minutes later, best friend's baby needed a feed. I went to fix him a bottle and realized she hadn't packed his formula. When I asked if she had packed bottles, she answered literally, but I never specified if she packed formula as well. I thought it was given. To clarify, my baby is exclusively on breast milk right now, and everything I have is frozen, and it takes time for frozen milk to unfreeze. I tried calling her about 4 times, and she kept sending me to voicemail, so I texted her. She had read receipts on, so I know she saw my texts. I kept trying to call, and she just wouldn't answer me. I couldn't go to the store and get a jar of formula because she didn't leave me his car seat, and I only had my infant seat. My older child is 7 and doesn't need an infant seat anymore. I don't know my neighbors, and other than my husband, I don't have family in the area. At this point, the baby was crying and screaming so hard, I thought he might get sick or hurt. So I sat down and breastfed him myself. I'm completely healthy, just got a flu shot and a clean bill of health from both my OB and my GP, and I have no diseases, so the baby was not at risk for anything. Best friend finally returned 3.5 hours later. I remained calm, but told her that she can't leave her child with someone and not answer when that person calls and texts because it might actually be a serious emergency, and that she also hadn't packed any of the baby's special formula. I told her how badly he got upset and how worried I was, so I breastfed him myself. She freaked out on me and accused me of some horrible things and then left. She blocked me on social media. Something I learned when a mutual friend told me best friend was saying some awful things about me online. I don't know what to do. I can't even talk to her about this. I thought I was doing the right thing, but maybe I was wrong. Am I the jerk? Edit to add, I just wanted to let everyone know because I could not due to the character count restrictions. One of our mutual friends already placed a call to CPS a few weeks ago. We have several friends who were also worried about her, but were unable to come help when this happened. She gets 2 wellness visits a week at her home from a caseworker, and she's been ordered to seek mental health help. To clarify, I'm brand new at breastfeeding, didn't do it with my older child due to illness, and I'm still learning about everything. I received 3 free sessions with a lactation consultant while in the hospital, and nothing since. Edit to add, when I say in the post I had no one who would come and help me, I mean it, like dead serious. My husband and I moved to this town right before we got married, and our family is all back on the West Coast. We have a small group of friends, all of whom were either at work or unable to come at that moment. We're a small town. We don't have Uber. Heck, Domino's Pizza doesn't even deliver out here. I don't know my neighbors. I'm not even sure what my closest neighbors' names are. We're farm country. The nearest neighbor is a mile up the road. Even my husband couldn't leave work. Edit to add, I've had some really helpful and uplifting comments, and naturally a troll and a couple armchair MDs, but I've got a 6-7-year-old, a baby eager for her 3 a.m. snack, and a husband who's currently passed out on the floor using a dog toy as a pillow, and I need some sleep, so I'm gonna sign off. Thanks everyone who helped, and I'll come back later on and respond further. Good night. Edit to add, I lost my temper on a few folks and have been banned for 7 days, so I can't answer direct questions. Here are a few big ones. 1. Where's the baby's father? Deceased, drugs, not a good person, conception was less than good. 2. Why didn't I express milk or thaw a bag? I've literally answered this question a blue billion times both in the post and in the comments, so I'm not answering it anymore. 3. Have I called CPS? No, because CPS is already investigating her on unrelated issues. However, the mutual friend mentioned in the post told the caseworker, so CPS is aware of all incidents. 4. Not important, but I got an article in a newspaper about this, so I feel interesting. 5. Best friend called CPS on me and reported me for the above post, so I'm dealing with that now. Edit to add, made the front page. So that's the end of the original post. Took a while to get through all of those extra notes at the end. I think as long as OP's truthful about the fact that they've got a clean bill of health, they did what they thought was best for a baby in need in that moment. In time immemorial, as long as humans have existed, there have been wet nurses. It's not like it's a foreign thing to happen. Maybe you feel differently than I do, but I don't think anything happened to the baby, and I don't think anybody in any kind of form of position of authority would cause any grief to actually go OP's way. In the comments, a user named Biggs Chunky wrote, "This story is wild. I'd honestly prefer this over starving my child. Your friend had a very odd reaction, not the jerk." The OP of the post replied to that, "I honestly and truly think she's just really stressed right now, and this reaction might be a manifestation of her own fears and feelings. I'm really just hurt and upset that we can't even talk about it." The OP then goes on to post an update on November 26th, 2019, 5 weeks later. "Well, hello. Since my post, CPS did come and speak to us. I gave the 2 workers who came out a full tour of the house. I let them speak to my older daughter. They interacted with the baby, they played with a dog, they interviewed my husband and myself, and we were given the all clear. I showed them my post and let them read some of the comments. I wasn't disciplined or anything, and they told us that unless they get a call about us again, we'll probably never hear from them again. I mentioned in my post and comments that I had never received proper breastfeeding and lactation help. Well, that changed too. I got a message from a lactation consultant who actually lives an hour away from me. She made the drive 5 straight days to come and coach me, gave me some really great literature and tips, so I'm up to date on breastfeeding now. My baby is thriving and gorgeous, the dog loves her to death. As for my former best friend, she saw the post, she unblocked me and called me and we talked. She got mental help and hired a nanny as well, and she seems to be on the road to doing much better. She apologized for everything and I apologized for my part in it. However, I told her that we could never be friends again. Maybe I could have forgiven her for that day she left her baby son with me, but I could never forgive her for calling CPS on me. I could have lost my kids. So, we're no longer in contact, but she's not talking trash about me anymore. Anyway, that's what's been happening since my post. It's been an active month for me. We've all had a stomach bug, and the dog got his balls cut off, finally. My husband got a vasectomy that he's currently recovering from, and I lost 10 pounds. Thanks for listening. So that was the end of the final update. Didn't expect to hear all the great ball-related news. I would love to know in the comments if you guys feel that OP was overreacting, or if telling that friend after they had gotten help and apologized and tried to walk back that stuff, "No, I am never going to talk to you again and we cannot be friends," after what they did. Our next story is, "Am I the jerk for refusing to tell my boyfriend how much money I make?" Original post, "Am I the jerk for considering a breakup after boyfriend bailed on being my surgery ride?" February 9th, 2026. I, 29-year-old female, have been with my boyfriend, 39-year-old male, for about a year and a half. He's kind, social, and really busy. Early on, he told me he's bad at planning, which I accepted. In reality, it meant I adapted to him. Our time together was usually probably Friday or maybe Sunday, and I would wait until the day of to know if we were actually seeing each other. Over time, I've noticed I was basically the only flexible part of his life. He never misses poker night, gym class, or frequent family dinners. Those are always set. But with me, plans stay loose. I stopped pushing and just opted to keep my schedule open, telling myself that if I wanted to see him, this was how it worked. There have been some occasions where plans were kept. We've been on 2 vacations, for instance. But when it comes to more routine life, this is the pattern I've noticed. It does bother me, but in the end, he is available and we see each other pretty frequently. And when we do see each other, he's focused and attentive. I guess that's why I put up with it. It felt like a planning issue, not really a priorities issue or a quality time issue. But last week, something changed in me. I had a medical procedure scheduled one morning, a minor surgery, but I did go under and I couldn't drive afterward or take a rideshare because the hospital won't let you. He had told me earlier in the week that he would be free and would take me. That morning, he texted saying that he had forgotten and had already committed to helping a friend move. He suggested I take an Uber and said we would make it up another time. I explained that I couldn't and that this was surgery and I'd really like to not have to worry about this at 6:30 a.m. day of. He caved but was standoffish when he picked me up, which obviously was not great after being intubated. Last night, I told him how bothered I was. He said I was being unfair because I know how he is with planning, and that I hadn't really stressed the importance of this. To be fair, I don't think I had mentioned the Uber thing to him prior, but through the conversation, it just seemed to me that this was nothing to do with the details. I just wasn't being prioritized. I realized I've been enabling this by staying vague, available, and accepting scraps because it felt easier than asking for more. I told him I don't want to continue like this and that this affected my ability to trust him in a serious situation. He says I'm overreacting and punishing him for a one-time mistake that is partly on me. Some friends say I trained him to treat me this way and I should try to salvage. I feel done. Am I the jerk? So that's the end of the original post, and I just have to say, this guy, in most situations, must be an absolute sweetheart for OP to have put up with this for this long. A year and a half with a partner that can only give you probably Friday, maybe Sunday. I feel like the answer to OP's problem is they have to go full mommy mode and say, okay, well, we are going to meet up on Sunday. You're going to be there. You better get your butt there, mister. Which I can imagine for a lot of people is not very fun to have in a relationship. And we haven't even gotten into the gist of the title issue yet. In the comments of the post, one commenter wrote, "You are a low priority for him and either need to be fine with that or kick him to the curb." A second commenter wrote, 10-year age gap and doesn't prioritize you when you're literally in the freaking hospital. Don't be stupid, babe. And a third commenter wrote, even if the logic of you trained him to treat you this way made any sense, it's easier to start a new relationship with someone who has respect for you and can't be trained into deprioritizing you than staying with someone who doesn't give a freak about you. That being said, you didn't train him to crap. You maybe allowed yourself to be treated like an afterthought, but that's only because he felt that way and started doing it first. Any person who holds themselves to a standard in their relationship cannot be taught to deprioritize their partner. This man has shown you time and again how little you matter to him. Good on you for knowing your worth and leaving. The OP then goes on to make another post. Am I the jerk for refusing to tell my boyfriend how much money I make? March 2nd, 2026. 3.5 weeks later. I, 29-year-old female, have been with my boyfriend, 39-year-old male, for about a year and a half. We are definitely on the serious side, but I've learned some lessons and like to take things slow. We will typically spend 1 or 2 nights a week together, but not every weekend, for instance. The fact that we both have pets is also a factor. I have 2 cats and he has a mountain dog. He isn't a great planner either, and we've had some huge fights over that, but overall, he is a good guy, and I am committed to him. We are fairly normal and have talked about all the things people normally talk about after this time dating. Formative memories, exes, what we want out of life, etc. And we are pretty aligned on just about everything. Early on, maybe 1 month in, he got curious about my financial situation, and I said that was a boundary for me. He accepted it and moved on, but it's come up again and again. This is over the course of months, so it's not like he's forcing the issue, but money discussions do arise. We took a trip to Hawaii, for instance. I said I think it's reasonable to split it down the middle, but I'll be honest, maybe it isn't. The truth is, he makes about half of what I do. We both have salary jobs that pay similarly, but I have a couple of freelance gigs which dramatically increase my income. I come from pretty stark poverty, and the idea of sharing money with a man is very difficult for me. It came up again recently, and again, I said I don't want to go there. He said he thinks it's weird that we've been together this long and haven't. He didn't come at me or really dwell on the issue or anything, but it still makes me feel guilty or like I'm doing something wrong. Am I the jerk? So this one, I'm a little bit more flip-floppy about. They've been together for a year and a half, but OP does have some issues with the relationship, so maybe OP's not wrong to be a little bit withheld about some things. But then OP steamrolls that over by saying I'm fully committed to this guy, and more or less saying that they see a future with this guy. Maybe I'm the one in the wrong, but after a year and a half, if you're not willing to divulge at least a little bit about like kind of what you're making, it feels like maybe it becomes one of those elephant in the room things that become harder and harder to just confront and get over with because you haven't just talked it through yet. In the comments on the post, one commenter wrote, "You're not married. he can pay half. Your money is your business until you're married. Another commenter wrote, if you're getting to the point of talking about moving in together or even marriage, he should have some idea of your finances. Before getting married, you both should put all of it on the table. Income, assets, savings, debt, everything. Get a prenup to protect what you're bringing in. Don't feel bad about keeping separate accounts for shared expenses and personal funds. Make sure you're on the same page for retirement savings and emergency funds. It would be fair if you paid a higher proportion of shared expenses if you make more than he does, but be sure he's not taking advantage. A third commenter wrote, it's fine if you're just dating. If you're planning on getting engaged or married, you need to talk about it, especially if you move in together. You can get your money separate, but it's important to know each other's financial situation. Wouldn't you want him to tell you if he made close to nothing or had a ton of debt before committing long term? And lastly, a fourth commenter wrote, a year and a half in and he doesn't know how much you make is definitely weird. If you don't want a future with him, let him go. The OP then goes on to post an update March 8th, 2026, 6 days later from the previous post. I read all of the comments and have been thinking a lot about my relationship. I had also posted that he didn't pick me up for surgery, which was a pretty serious issue that lots of people called a huge red flag. This was also in a context where making plans always made me feel like a low priority. I don't really think I got over all of that. After lots of reflection, I concluded that we just aren't a match. I think I'm guarded with him because he continues to show signs of inconsistency and uncertainty around me. I don't think I can trust him and open up more, and beyond this income thing, there are other aspects to me that I just don't care to share with him. We've also been very slow about integrating with each other's friends and family. Basically, it's barely happened. I met his mom once, but it was more of a coincidence than an actual meeting. I've been waiting for him to initiate more, and he hasn't. I was of the mind that I should just be patient, but I started to feel it should just end. I did the right thing and met up with him for the breakup, and he was understanding. We both agreed it sucked, and we did have some good times, even some great ones, but that it had run its course. The only thing that he did that didn't sit well with me was him calling it a situationship, which I felt was him trying to minimize the relationship because he just got dumped. But all in all, not that big of a deal, and he has been civil otherwise. Appreciate everyone's thoughts, and looking forward to greener pastures once all of this passes over. So unfortunately, that is the end of the final update. But unfortunately, does this not leave us with more questions than it did answers? I mean, I know this is all just a am I the jerk post and whatnot, and it's not really our right to know all of these details and whatnot, but for him to be like, sure, yeah, all right, we had good times, but just a situationship, a year and a half situationship, no biggie. And then for OP to be like, well, there's also parts of me that I also don't want to share with him, that they didn't divulge in any of these posts either. I want to know what axe murderer things OP's getting up to that they don't want to talk about. In the comments of the post, one commenter wrote, the situationship comment was bonus material in case you need reminding you did the right thing. A second commenter wrote, the surgery post was really it for me. That he doesn't have a problem with time management when it comes to his poker nights or the gym or his family events shows it's not truly about time management, but priorities and where you place on them. What really got me was how he treated you when he did pick you up and that he never fully apologized for this. The fact that you were with him for a year and a half and didn't feel safe telling him your salary was a really telling piece of information. Being transparent about finances is a really important part of a committed, long-term relationship, and that you had hesitancy over this shows things weren't where they needed to be. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. And speaking of priorities, if you don't have any priorities to get to and you want to listen to another update-filled crazy story, why not check out another video I did right there on the left of the screen? Or if you missed my latest video, you can check that out on the right. That said, I'll get my priorities together and I'll see you all next time with some more stories.